Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Florin.
What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Florin from High School Top 200, and welcome back to the Monday morning meeting, where I go around the country and I give you big updates on everything that's going on around First 15 rugby here in New Zealand. If you are new to this channel or this page or to this platform and what I do, go onto Facebook and check it out on High School Top 200 on Facebook, at the real HS Top 200 on Instagram, and HS Top 200 on TikTok as well. Getting better with my TikToks as well as my Instagram posts and stuff like that. Still trying to learn how to do all the editing and stuff like that on there. But I don't know, it's getting better. It'll get better soon. Maybe in the off season I'll have a little bit more break to mess around with that kind of stuff and see what happens. But if you want to look at the rankings that are going to change over the next 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks it'll be finished, go on to High School Top hstop200.com, $5 subscription for the year. Even though the season's going to be ending, I'm still going to be putting out heaps of content on the website as well, with player and team reviews and stuff like that, looking to next year, looking at different games from this year, things like that, which I'll be talking about too, because there's been so many games this year that have actually, like, this year is probably the first year where I think there have been more than at least 5 memorable games in my mind, in terms of like games that I've been to as well. So it's just been a big year this year for rugby games and First 15 rugby, and sort of how significant it's been too. So even when the year's finished, I'll still be going. I'll still be doing it. So yeah, keep following. Keep getting out, because there's so much stuff with First 15 rugby that there's more than enough content to just keep talking about it. It's just real interesting. To me, it's real interesting, so I try and portray that onto everybody else that comes and follows this page. Let's get into some of the stuff. I'm going to talk about the Hamilton boys Tauranga Super 8 final, and just like everybody else that saw that score, 34-0 or 37-0 or something like that, I don't know, I think you'd have to really go back into you'd really have to go back into the archives to really figure out, or to see when Hamilton boys have been beaten by that much, pretty much by any team, to be honest. I've never seen a Hamilton boys team in 10 years lose like that to any team. I've never seen a Hamilton boys team lose like that to Tauranga boys. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they said that this is the worst loss that they've ever had in the last 20-30 years. Even when I was back at school, even before Nigel and Greg got there at Hamilton boys, they were still a hard team to play. They weren't like the Hamilton boys that we know now, but they were still like a real hard team to play. But losing by that much in a final, to me, was like pretty unbelievable. And it's so weird, because when you watch that first half, Tauranga is winning in that first half, and by points on the points of the board, they were winning. Also by just watching the game, you could see the momentum that they were building. But Hamilton boys weren't actually playing that bad, I didn't think. They were getting through the structures. They had their system going. Some drop balls, things like that. But it wasn't like the second half where just just blew open, where it became really bad in the second half. And it just didn't stop. And you could see the boys just depleting, like they just depleted after that. And the confidence that Tauranga was playing with, even when Nikolai went off, even when he was off, they continued to play the same. Aiden was a bit hurt. What's his name at centre was limping a little bit too for Tauranga, but they just played this continual structure that they played. And for me, I think that Hamilton boys lost it around the rucks, and for some reason, I don't know why, but they weren't trying to compete with them at the rucks, whereas to me, I think that in the last game that they played, they dominated Tauranga at the ruck, and they went head to head with them at the ruck. And this is where I personally think that if someone like Alex was there, Alex Arnold, who had a massive game the last time, he's that kind of guy that competes down at the rucks. And he's the guy that is pretty relentless when it comes to that kind of stuff. I really think that that's where the Hamilton boys lost it. And then that's where I think that Tauranga had so much quick ball, and everything they played moving forward to the line. Like even that one where you see, I think they were in their 22, Mason just drops this little chip kick over, and then you see Judah come flying through, and it's just like so smooth in their movement. Even to do something like that in your 22, to me it's just a confidence building. Just even when it pays off, which it did. I think them playing that way is what gave them more of that belief that what they were doing was just, they weren't making a mistake. What their game plan was working, and they just continued on with it. I just think it was that. And even Aiden should have, I think, ran it a lot more, because every run that he did, they couldn't bring him down after. It was taking 2 or 3 tackle attempts just to bring him down. And I wish he had ran a bit more, because Jay was over the ball every single time. Jay probably got 3 turnovers, I think it was 3 jackals in the game at real important moments. And even when he didn't win the ball, he was still there every single time, getting his hands to the ball. And so I kind of think that the fact that Hamilton boys didn't really commit guys to be in there, put their head in those dark places and just fight for that possession and fight for that right to be there over the ball or to get their hands, the fact that they just didn't have that or do that, I think is what lost them the game. And sometimes it's sometimes it's a coaching thing and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the coach, and I've heard coaches many times yelling at their boys just to get in there, and sometimes boys are just not committed. Most of you rugby players out there, if you've got that 1 to 8 jersey on, and if you're not a talented runner, if you're not a talented ball carrier, if you're not a talented, scrummager or tackler or whatever, be perfect at the breakdown. Be committed to the breakdown, putting your body in the line, being a nuisance around the ruck, never giving up, even when you could be 4-on-1, and if you're that guy who's just the one and you decide, oh no, I'm just going to keep going and make them hold me off, if you're that one guy and you can do that really well, you're going to be picked for a lot of teams. you're going to be a pick for a lot of teams if you can disrupt the timing, the flow, rhythm of plays, going from one ruck to the next. If you can be there and be strong, where you just evade, guys trying to clean you out and you can just get them out of the way. If you can be that guy on a team, like, you're going to get selected so many times. You may not even be as talented as everybody else. But the fact that you can do that to a ruck or affect the game that much by slowing down the ball at the rucks, man, be that guy. Be that person. Give 100% at that. That's where I think Hamilton boys needed some of those guys, is to be at the rucks, being a nuisance, being in there. I think because Jack's his role is different as an open side, especially at Hamilton boys in the way that they run their open side. But I think when he went in there, I think he got 2 on the day, or 1 real big one, and I think if they played those kind of roles, Hamilton would have done a bit better and at least slowed it down and given themselves some opportunities too. But Tauranga were just way too good on the day, and that first half didn't reflect that scoreline, but that second half was definitely reflected that scoreline. And even being at the game, I even think Tauranga fans and supporters were shocked that it was that much. But you can definitely see and feel this change in sort of the handing over of the reins right now from Hamilton to Tauranga. And maybe this may be just like a 1 or 2 year thing, but what Aidan Kuka's done over there for Tauranga boys, as the coach for Tauranga boys, Aidan has changed it, not only the way that they play, but also the belief in the team and the concept that they have, and that has actually made a lot of boys stay in Tauranga. And those boys and those families that usually send their boys away for, boarding school elsewhere, they are all starting to stay there. All starting to stay there and want their boys to go to Tauranga boys. And Tauranga boys is winning on every single level. Not even just in first team. I mean, we saw the second 15 win, but even their under 15s is really, really good too. Their under 14s is really, really good. And so, it's changed this whole attitude throughout the whole of Tauranga boys, and that them being this dominant at rugby. I mean, they've lost just one game this year, and that was against Kelson boys on the exchange. And even then, it's just man, this team is just so good. And I think if they have a chance to play Kelson again, we might see a different Tauranga boys. But what Aidan is doing for that school and that coaching stuff that he's got with him, it's really changing the whole school. And a rugby team, your rugby team can change the whole perception of what your school is if your rugby team is doing good, and the belief that your school has when you're dominant. When your rugby team, or whatever your dominant sport is, it just changes the whole feeling of that school. And that school seems to have a lot of pride wherever they go now. You can kind of see it too. And even those boys that were playing the instruments at the game, playing their trumpets and their horns and their drums and stuff like that. If Tauranga is known for the school that brings their drums and horns to the games, that would be pretty cool. Because yesterday they just added this different dynamic to the school, and the boys that were there, supporting the school. I just thought it was great. Aidan's done something good to the school. Having guys like Aidan Cougar's done great for the school, and then having guys like Charlie Sinton and Nikolai and Aidan and Mason and Riley. Even Riley was so good yesterday too, and I'm not too sure how it's going to turn out. I'm not too sure what Nationals is going to bring, because they still have to play. I think they play Rotorua Boys this weekend, and then somebody else, and then Hamilton Boys again, if Hamilton Boys make it through for the Chiefs. But it'll be cool to see Tauranga Boys and see Nelson College maybe in the finals. You know, that'll be a cool one too. If, let's say, because I still think Hastings Boys is probably, to me, is probably the best team in the Hurricanes region. But we might have, I mean, because like if St. Kentigans win and they take out the Blues region, Tauranga wins and takes that Blue region. If, let's say, Napier or Silverstream take out the Hurricanes and then Nelson, you're going to have 4 Blue teams turning up to the Nationals. Hopefully they all, if it happens that way, that all these schools are all wearing blue, every team should bring an alternative. Just having like shades of blue. It'll be pretty weird. But Tauranga's definitely going to be the strongest team here in the Waikato. And if they carry on the way that they're going, and with the success that they're having, maybe it is going to be like a new, you know, just a new wave of dominance here in the Waikato, which hasn't changed. Like there's been glimpses of Wesley and glimpses of Rotorua Boys sometimes, but Hamilton Boys have always been the threat. It'll be cool if Hamilton Boys and Tauranga just have this dominance, this fight for dominance in the area. I mean, even if you had Rotorua, Tauranga and Hamilton Boys, all three of them, you know, that's good for the region. That's good for the region as well, for, you know, Waikato for such a, you know, I don't think people give a lot of respect to this Chiefs region. And maybe I'm just talking about that because like I'm a hard out Chiefs fan, but to have schools like Hamilton Boys, Wesley, Rotorua Boys, Tauranga Boys, New Plymouth, Francis Douglas, and then you have St. John's, St. Paul's and St. Peter's, all these big schools in such a smaller area, I think we do well for an area, for a region like this. For the, you know, the amount of schools that we have, I think we do great. I think Highlanders are probably the next ones to us that have like the smallest area too. I mean the smallest in terms of schools in the area. But yeah, those boys at Tauranga, it's gonna be a different story, and it's one of those ones where I think they're like, if these next boys and these next generations can carry it on, man, it's going to be such a massive change to the landscape of rugby here, not just in the Waikato region, but in New Zealand, if Tauranga stays so strong.
There's no one player standing out. Quite often in this sort of radar, you get somebody that's just unstoppable. Yeah. None of these guys are really unstoppable.
Speaking of, because like we're coming into this week is like finals week is this week. In the Auckland region, now that you have, I think it's St. Kitts and Sacred Heart playoff for a finals spot, and then Grammar and Kelston boys play for a final spot. And the favourites should be St. Kitts in that game over Sacred Heart. Because remember, Sacred Heart's not even like an older team. Yeah, they've got Cohen there, who's definitely a New Zealand secondary school player. Well, hopefully, I think he really is. Cruz Simpson is on sort of the edge of New Zealand secondary schools, maybe Barbarians, more Māoris. He did get picked up for Blues under 18s, which I thought was tragic. I don't know why. But that team predominantly is a pretty young team. Like, they're a young side. They're not like an old side at all. So for them even to make it into the top 4 is a massive deal, with the big exodus of players that they had from last year's team. So they should be, them being in there is a surprise, but they shouldn't beat St. Kennigans, coming into next week. They shouldn't. It's just one of those things. I mean, St. Kitts, all over the park, it's pretty strong. Even though with the front row, where you have like Riley at tight head, who's also young. He's only year 12. Like, even D'Angelo Michaelia, who's, I think Luke Makata is also year 12 too. Like, I know Riley's year 12. Luca might be year 12 as well. D'Angelo Michaelia is only year 11, and he comes in as prop sometimes. VJ Brown is year 13, but then even Sam Jancy and Junior. Sam Jancy's year 11, Junior's year 12. Amalani Tayala is year 13, as well as Zeph. Dr. Toll is year 8. Number 8 is year 13, I think. But then everybody else is year 11 and year 10. Year 11 and year 12s. So this St. Kitts team is going to be pretty young next year too. But St. Kitts having Riley, St. Kitts also having Junior Slade, who's like a massive lock this year, and he's getting, last year when he was just a bit too skinny, he's skinny now, but he's skinny but he's strong. Pretty dominant line-out option. I was hoping he would stay in the Chiefs region because he's from Manurewa. I was hoping he'd stay in the region. I was hoping he'd come down to like St. Peter's down here or St. Paul's or something like that, but he's got a scholarship to go over St. Kennigans, so it's massive that he's there. The Chiefs region should go out there and tell him, hey, come back to the Chiefs region, play at that school, but come back to the Chiefs region. I hope Junior would come back here. But having Sam Jancy, who's a really hard worker, I really like the way that he plays, but then even Junior in the lineouts is a massive thing. Amalani, to me, I don't know why he missed out on under 18s Blues, but he was a big time player as well, open side, saves the game a lot for those guys and what they do. But this St. Kitts side should be too strong. Angus Ravel's too strong. Ben Monahan, who's another guy that missed out on under 18s for some reason, I'm not too sure. But him and Ben and Siale Pahulu, who's I think still with the Warriors, but that midfield, along with Epelehame and Luke on the wings, to me is just too much for someone like Sacred Heart to sort of counter or to even play against, because I don't know if they match up too well with everything that St. Kitts has. And even with guys like Brady Tate, Lucien Michaela, who's the other brother who plays at he plays number 8 or 6, Lucien. Sam McLeod's another one. Then even Samisi Langi, who's the youngest one, him coming off the bench. Like, to me, these guys are just, I think they might just be too much. They should be too much. And I'm not saying that that Sacred Heart are going to lose. But I just don't think that they have enough to take care of what St. Kentigern's has. And they're a bit young. Sacred Hearts is a team for next year. To me, and what I think, they're the team for next year. I think the better one is that, like, having Kelson Boys and Auckland Grammar. I think that's like the closer game. Because even the Skelston front row, like the forward pack's actually really, really good. And I think his name's Io Keith. Like, he's a blindside, and like I think he's just like a really, really tough player. He's a really tough player, and then now that Desmond Laban is back, Desmond Laban is back at number 8. Him and Joseph and Io at 6, 7, and 8. To me, are not like the most skillful position players, but for some reason, when they're together, those three work just together, and it's sort of like they all attack at the same time, and then they all defend at the same time, and then they all get involved, and they do things together, which I think is probably why they're so successful. Even like Nathan Ord and also Seth Keith, like in the locking, like I don't find them as like really dominant locks, but as a forward pack together, they just seem to get the work done every single time that they're out there. Just really hard workers, and they're guys that sort of crowd the rucks as well, and they don't stop pursuing the ball. And then you guys, obviously Xavier Lerto, who's there, and then Solo Kasakasa, I think his last name is. But even him as a big prop gets through a lot of work. Him and Tiano, Xavier, and Solo, and that front row is also like another hard one, man. Because like when I saw them against St. Kentigern's, they really, really, really put that heat on St. Kentigern's, and at scrum time, and St. Kentigern's struggled. They struggled that whole game. But that game against them and Auckland Grammar is going to be a tough one. And Jarrell Vainga, him and Pola and Tyson are probably the guys that I look for in this game, because Jarrell, Pola, and Tyson are the guys that sort of lead that back line. They make it work. They are very strong. I think Pola's probably the strongest defender out there that I've seen, especially in the back line. He's not only big and massive, but he also makes clean tackles. He's pretty fast to get back on his feet. And when he gets over the ball, he is kind of like a number 8 blindside. Like, he's just pretty hard to move. And so him going up against Nico and Boston, who I'm guessing is going to be in that backline with Rios, I think that would be the matchup. Whether Jarrell plays 10 or he plays 12, because Tyson can also play 10, but Tyson seems to be playing fullback most of the time this year. They have that other kid, Kopa Nomoto. Let me see what his name is. Nomotu, I think his name is. Nomotu or Nomota? Nomotu? He's the other one that seems to come in. I think he's that kid with the blonde hair. Last time I saw him, he had blonde hair. Depends what happens there, but if Jarrell plays at 10, it's going to be, a pretty interesting game. If he plays at 12, hopefully they can get him the ball fast enough. This is kind of what I'll be looking for anyway. As long as the ball gets in Jarrell's hands, him and Bowler's hands, and then Tyson's at the back, they're going to be a pretty hard team to beat. But even Auckland Grammar as well is like, they've been playing so good that whenever St. Kentigern's that I watched, And I think obviously that Dilworth's probably the big, stain on their name right now, but Charlie Wallace, I think it's important that him and Logan in there. Finn, I hope Finn is back. I don't think he actually played, because he didn't play against. Yeah, he didn't play against St. Kennigan's. Did he play? Yes. Oh, okay. So he came off the bench against Botany Downs. But I mean, if he is injured, I would have just probably given him a few minutes just to get back in there. But Logan Platt is real important to this. Him and Charlie. Lungy Sharma was the other one I really like. Flip, that dude is good. He does everything, and so hopefully if those guys are in the game and then they're sort of always there and around the ball. Lungy's the other ones that I think is real important for this team. If Lungy and Finn, I kind of feel like Lisiata Akolo, I think his name is. I kind of have a feeling he should stay there at lock. I have a feeling Finn should move to 6 and maybe have him, Lungy, and either a guy, Fergus Williams, who I think was the other one, and there's Fergus Williams? I know his first name is Fergus. Him and Jack are probably the other ones that I think should maybe move them around or something. But I have a feeling that if they play Finn at 6 and not get him stuck sort of in the locks, leave that to Logan Platt to do, and then sort everything else around that. But I'd like to see Finn at 6. And I know I've talked about it before, but Finn Mather and Finn McLeod from Christchurch Boys are real similar players, and it would be cool to see just those two at 6 and 8 and see what they can do. Because I'd love to see that kind of combination, play out on the field. Preston Braden's probably got to, even though he's small, he's just got to be fast and stay fast, stay quick, stay feeding forwards. Rios, he'll probably bring out his kicking game. He'll probably always plug those corners. He'll probably always look for grass. If I was Carlson, I would have someone fire at him every single time he touches that ball. Don't fall for any fakes. Don't fall for any kicks. Just run at him and just make a tackle. I would just do that and just put all the pressure on Rios. Because I feel like with Grammar, if you take out Rios out of the game, you then take out the kicking game and then playing and then keeping them in their own half to play the game in their half. Rios gets them out of so much trouble. Just him just booting it down the field. And, I think the fact that Bastion and Jonathan Thompson and Jackson McMullen, like those kind of guys, because they chase up so well on those kicks, because even Preston Borthurst is the other one that, even at fullbacks, is just like, bro, they've just got really good kicking games. So I feel like if you could take one of your kicking game, have them play them out and let them run it out, because Boston Crown's probably going to have to do a lot of running. Nico Stanley obviously is going to do a lot of running. Nico Stanley is actually, I'm thinking of adding him into the top 200, the main top 200 list. Like, that's how good I think Nico has been in the past 3-4 weeks. He's been playing that good. I haven't had a year 11 ranked in there since, I think Tian Falcon was the other one as a year 11 that I had ranked in there. That was new on in top 200 when I first kind of started. And I think I had Tian Falcon in there from when he was playing for Lindisfarne in there. But Nico Stanley, I'm actually really thinking about putting him in the top 200. Maybe he'll be in the top 200 before the year is out, but I've never had a year 11. It doesn't matter how good they've been playing. I've never had them in there in the top 200. Nico is probably the first one, realistically, that I've thought about putting him in there. But the fact that Nico and Boston play so well together, and I know that, and I've seen them a few times where they've swapped, even though Nico's second 5, I've seen them swap around where they've got Rios and Boston going at first 5 and second 5, and then it becomes a situation where it's just like, well, will actually create and distribute the ball from second 5 rather than do it from first 5 if that kicker's not there. If they play it that way, then it's going to be pretty cool. I think the other important player to sort of look out for is Patrick Tosun. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but I know that he's a hooker, but he sometimes plays prop as well. But he's probably like a real big major factor in this game, or will be in this game anyway, because along with Charlie, I think Patrick and Charlie are probably the bigger guys with the higher work rates in that front row, and they make a lot of damage. Charlie's, I think, is having a massive year this year. I think he obviously, to me, he's just one of the best best props in the country right now. Country right now. Tangaroa, I think in that 1B, I think it's Tangaroa and Southern Cross are the ones that are playing, and then Pakuranga and McLean's. Now, I think if I don't end up going to Taupo I think because the CNI, they usually have a big CNI, their last day they all have it done in Taupo. If they do that again, I'll probably be down in Taupo. If not, I'll probably come up to Auckland, and then if I don't make it out south, or if I don't make it out to North Harbour, I'll probably be going to the Pakuranga and McLean's game and watching that one before I go and watch one of the 1A games. Because Pakuranga and McLean's is going to be a pretty good matchup, a pretty even matchup, because McLean's has been doing really good this year too. So it'll be cool to see those sides play off against. But Pakuranga was 22-3. I think they have a little bit more than that in the tank. But yeah, that'll probably be the game that I go and see anyway. CNI Finals. St. John's Whanganui, I think, are playing. That's the matchup. Francis Douglas Rathkill. St. Paul's. St. Paul's Lindisfarne. And then Feilding and St. John's. I think that's what it is. Oh, Wesley and... I'm forgetting someone. And I know people will probably be screaming at me like right now. Like, oh, Wesley and St. Peter's, maybe? Something like that. Anyways, the finals, Feilding and St. John's, that's another another replay. And what's that, 3 years in a row now? I think for me, the matchup is going to be Dane Johnston, him and Joel Cahill, the two tight head props. I think that's the matchup that you're probably going to want to watch, as those two go at it. Both big, strong fellas, real mobile, good, strong scrummages. Imori, him and Jaden are going to have a hard time against both of these two guys at scrum time, but I mean, you're just going to make it work. I think Alani Whakavā has at hooker for Feilding is probably going to have to probably help out on that other side a little bit at scrum time, because it's not easy to scrum against these two guys. And like Dane Johnston and Joel Cahill, to me, are in their contention for New Zealand secondary schools. And having those bigger bodies, I think, is going to be a massive plus for New Zealand secondary schools if they can fit both of them in there. And I've already talked about Liam van der Hayden and Nikolai Te Huia as well as big guys. But then obviously Charlie Wallace is another guy that I've talked about too in terms of New Zealand secondary schools. But these two, I think they should be in that New Zealand secondary school frame. And if they just went and watched their games this year, man, both of them just every single time, they just they're just way out there. I think the other matchup that I'll probably be keen on is that Rupini, Raviyawa, him and Keelan Viliamia is probably going to be the number 8 matchups that is probably going to be the one to watch. If Leo Burgess comes back in and it's him, Harper Mills and Keelan, I would pick that loose trio over what Rupini, Marshall and Van come up with. O'Shea's another one who's probably going to be a part of that 6, 7, 8, just like his, because O'Shea's like a O'Shea Rogan is like, he's just a really sharp player. I think he'll be another guy that's in that frame as well. But that loose trio for St. John's is going to be a hard one to match up for Feilding, and they've got St. John's have to play like they're the better side with that 6, 7, and 8, and they have to be so effective and they have to be so dominant. They have to make sure Rupini doesn't get his runs. Harper and Leo and Keelan have to really cut down the amount of either ball Rupini gets or cut down the meters of how many steps. And once he gets the ball, you just fly up on him straight away. Make sure he doesn't get any kind of running start or anything like that. Follow him around and that kind of stuff, and just make Marshall Buckman and Van Campbell do some work. I mean, even Zach Fuller's like another one. I think that you kind of have to sort of watch. He's a lot more effective in the breakdowns and putting his head in those dark places, all that kind of stuff. But when he does get the ball, he does make some really good runs. Apart from that, you're watching Alani at hooker, Dane at number 3, and then Rupini. Those 3 for me are the main ones for Feilding High School. Even though Emery, the prop, he has some really good runs too. But those other guys to me are above, a little step above, and that's where Keelan, Harper, Leo got to watch out, and then Joel's got to really do it. And then Curtis McCarthy has to have a big game. To me, he has to have a really big game, and hopefully he can make an impact as well. Like he can make an impact at lock, and then make some big runs, make some big hits. Be solid at the break, and then just get in there. The two halves. Because Kotahi Crib is he's played so many games and he's had so much experience, and he's had really good teams that he just knows how to play the game and get his team moving and putting them in positions where they need to be able to attack. So for me, I think once Kotahi gets it going, they've just got to make sure that Dan Maiseri gets a lot of ball. James Tuitabu gets a lot of ball. Ezra's another one as well. What's his name? Penny. I think he might be injured. But him coming back, Kanye when he gets on. Yeah, all these guys I think are guys that you got to expect from that back line to do something. But Dan is probably like Dan and Penny Javier are the two players I would watch out for in that back line, and just to make sure that they don't get too much of a running start and an easy, giving them too much space. You can't give Dan too much space. When Penny gets the ball, don't fall for his right footstep. Don't, undercommit on him, and don't give him too much time to work with, because it can really punish you. And this is where I think Leighton Jones and obviously Carlin Mosati is probably going to be their strongest in a game like this. Kalen and James for Feilding are probably going to really have to be great defenders in this game. And I don't mean good defenders, I mean great defenders. Because Leighton is such a strong player, creative, good kicker, real explosive, and he can be real physical at the same time. But because of his playmaking abilities, his passing game, once Carlin gets the ball, he's too quick sometimes. Like sometimes he's just too quick, and he gets out of the block so fast that once you've figured out what you want to do or how to defend him, he's probably gone. Caden is also the one that, Markia, who's at fullback, he backs these guys up really well, so that in the end, when their play starts to form and get developed, Caden's going to be everywhere. So I think he's going to be another one that you're going to have to really shut down. And Penny and Javier, Penny Javier and Caden Markia are probably going to have a really good matchup too. Real similar, I guess, attacking styles. But this game is going to be one of those awesome ones to watch. It's going to be so good to watch this game and seeing what everyone has. But if everything's done at Taupo again, it's going to be cool, because those Taupo trips are mean, and I get to see all the teams all together, see everybody there. I guess the teams that I haven't seen in person, sometimes it's cool to catch up with some of those players and those coaches, saying hi to players that I talk and watch every single week, and then I just get to meet them in person, so it's real cool as well. But yeah, that's a real cool competition that they have when everyone shows up down there. Some of the other finals, Silverstream. I think that Silverstream won, and I think we got to be kind of honest, man. I feel sorry that St. Pat's Town just didn't really have anything for them. And I knew it was going to be another hard game for them, but it was pretty bad. I didn't think it was going to be 50 or over 50. But this Silverstream team is so strong, and Wellington really has to be the one that steps up. I don't know where Harry Law is. He must be injured. Oh, no, he's not injured. No, he played. No, yeah, he played. But they need him. 100% they need him. And I think Harry needs to have his best game if they're going to play. I mean, Samuel Thompson and Preston Moananu, who are usually both of the locks. Individually, I don't think that they're better than him. But together, I think they just dominate him. And Harry Law needs to have like a real perfect game. Either that or, George Woodman steps it up. And I can see both of those things happening. Because Harry Law is such a good player. But he just can't do it by himself. He needs that other part of the team. Because like Oliver Church is the other one. I think that loose forward trio is going to be really good with Zacadia Stroger, Oliver Church, Ollie Church, who I like a lot. And Raffaele Lupo is probably the other one as well. At 6. Even though they have Lazarus Webster, who I think is really good too. Rio. Oh no, not Rio. Who's the other guy who used to be there? Anyways, the loose forward trio is probably going to be like the most important, along with Harry Law, and they just got to make sure that Drew Berg McLean doesn't have like a perfect game. I mean, even just on Saturday, like he was just so good, and I'm not too sure how guys would want to stop him or how they're going to control that, but they got to do something. Preston at 6 was pretty sharp. I thought that was a really good move. Jack Stiles came in and did his thing as well. Noah, Heath, and Jericho. I always like that front row. I like that front row so much. And Hiram, Daniel, and Cyrus are going to really have to work hard to compete and dominate and try and be, on that level. It really is a Silverstream game. If Wellington's not careful, Wellington's going to lose by 20-25 points if they're not careful. Because Silverstream, and the reason why I say that, I'm not saying that like, Wellington's terrible or anything like that, but Wellington hasn't really had a good last few games. Like the Hibs one was the one that kind of set it off for me a little bit too, where I can understand that at the beginning of the season, but towards the end of the season, when you're starting to win by little margins over teams that you should be smashing, even if you had like a different side run on, even if your bench dominated the starting spot and you're still running out on a team like that, you should be in that position where you are running so well as a team that everybody is running well as a team, not just your starters, everybody. So they're actually the ones to me that have to play up to Silverstream status. Kean O'Connor is too good. Thompson Tukupo is too good. Preston Maraku is too good. Jeremiah Peresauma is too good. Liam Slide at the back is too good. And even in this game, and they didn't even have Elijah playing, and they're just so dominant. They're just too dominant. Liam Slide's he's just so good at fullback. I just like the way that he plays fullback. Him, Jeremiah, Preston, that 12, 13, 15, just so good. Just so good. And then Thompson, you just never know what he's going to do. Such a smart player, such a smart, like, real controlled kind of player. And then even with Kean, kind of like O'Connell and at 9, Wellington College they're really going to have to battle with this one. And they can't come sloppy, man. They can't come unprepared. They can't come with no energy. They can't come with no confidence, because Silverstream could really put a smashing on them, and it might just be a Hamilton boys turning a kind of score again if that's the case. And if they don't come right, that means Archie needs to be the man on that day. Charisma needs to really come out, and everything he does has to be perfect, has to be on the ball. And I know that it's kind of hard to put the game on some 2-year 12s in the back line, but to me it is on those two players in the back line. If those forwards get it done, and then you have Bentley, Archie and Charisma, those three have to really set it off. Shea has to come in and do something. Callum O'Connell's another one. Connell, who's the centre, is going to have to come out and do some, spark up some kind of like brilliance just to sort of get some attention away from those other three. But Archie and Charisma, to me, is just, that's the key to that back line and somewhat the team. Zacchaeus, as a year 11, it's hard to put the game on him, but have some big runs, bro. Smash them dudes, like honestly smash them guys, and get your team believing as well. Ollie Church at open side, he's got to do what he does, but and in all honesty, he's just not better than Drew, but you can play to his standard. May not be for the whole 70 minutes, but play to your standard, pick out your spots, be stronger than him in different areas of the game, and just get what you can from it. And just hope that Drew has a bad game. But Wellington really need to come with some of that fire, man. They really got to be onto it this game. You can't come in there half-hearted. You can't come in with doubts. They just got to be really present in what the moment is and what it means too. It's going to be a hard one. It's really going to be a hard one.
Go Ross! Okay, go!
Nelson and Christchurch boys. I don't really know, and I don't really know only because Nelson's just that good. I'm not even too sure what else to say about it. It's just Nelson's just that good, and I'm not too sure where you want to tear this team down from, on what areas, but it really is kind of hard to pick out an area where they are not a good side, or where they are a side that can struggle in this area or that area. I actually really don't know what area that is that they struggle in, I can't really pick it up. I can't really say which is the weaker one, because if the front row you got Samuela and also Jack, and then Oliver Kirk, the American guy who barks on the field. It's like bloody Americans. But even him, just a real hard-working player. Does everything he's supposed to do. Pretty strong at scrummaging as well. Tom Perkins at lock, who's the year 12 lock, just a really massive player. Big on work rate. Taina, Kobe and Salmaki again. What are you going to do with that loose trio? Probably the best loose trio in the country that we have. Oliver Gibbons, to me, I think Oliver Gibbons, if someone's going to make New Zealand secondary schools from halfback, because Charlie Simpson's not going to miss out on New Zealand secondary schools. But Mitchell Swan can. Even though I think he's better, Oliver Gibbons is probably one of those players that I'd be like, okay, if it's not Mitchell, I think it might be him. You know, even though I really love Jack Lawson as well, even what's his name from Whangarei Boys, oh my gosh, how am I forgetting his name? Sanders, what's his name? Jack Saunders. If it's not those guys, I can really see Oliver get that New Zealand secondary school selection. You know, so like Harry to me is already in there, and he's just one of those guys as well, just so good. Jimmy West at second 5 with Whanua Whaavai, like they're just too good, man. Like you just don't have a part of the, you know, there's just no one that you can pinpoint and go, yeah, they can dominate there, because I don't know where you can dominate, to be honest. It's just not. Because even Keelan Grifton, he's probably another one. Him, Mikey Morrison, whether you have Zion Ford or if you have Michael De Beer, like these guys, I think all of them are capable of starting. All of them are capable of making a play. All of them are capable of you know, pushing a moment. But if you're Christchurch Boys, it's just like, where do you go to? Blake Robinson at the number 8 for Christchurch Boys. I really like him. I really like Jonty. Finn McLeod might be another thing, like, you know, him and Finn Mather's the same. Finn McLeod might have to go to blindside, you know, or something like that. Bring in another big guy into, you know, bringing in like Sione Telefoni, him and Jacob Inch, having Finn on at number 6 with Blake and Jonty. They've got to do something, but I'm not too sure where they're going to have that kind of where they can be effective in stopping or slowing down what Nelson can do. Even James and Josh, Ethan in that front row, I'm not too sure. Like, James is a better prop than Samuel Takapu, but like as a whole, I'm taking the Nelson front row rather than the Christchurch Boys front row. Even like Hiro Fujigami as well at 9. He's in year 12 too, but such a good 9. Him and Will Haig is just like, yeah, against a lot of other teams, like you'd be really good and be above them as sort of a 9-10 connection, but not against Nelson. It's just, you know, I just don't think that's enough. And like Connor Hutchings and Rhodes Taylor's another one at midfield that if they don't get it right, you know, it's just like it could be a bit dangerous. So like I'm not too sure how they're going to play it out or what kind of gameplay that they want. Maybe it's just like an all physical game. Maybe they just have to be physical. Maybe Ollie Singleton at the back, if he starts at fullback again, maybe it's like one of those situations where you're just like, hey, how about we just base it off what Ollie gives us on whatever return kicks that he does, and then see what happens. Because the other thing is that like Nelson aren't really a kick down the field team. Like even though Harry can do it, they don't usually do it because they're always making ground. Like a lot of times they've never had to kind of get themselves out of trouble like that. Even when I was at quad, I didn't even think there was a time where they actually maybe once or twice, maybe once against Christ, but I don't remember Harry really trying to kick them out of trouble. And even like Ollie Gibbons probably, like even his box kicks wasn't really to get him out of trouble. His was more of a strategy of trying to get mistakes out of the other side, rather than like trying to fight your way out of your territory. So I'm not too sure how they're going to do it, how Christchurch boys would want to do it, and like maybe I'll write something up when I think of something. But for myself, I really don't know. I wouldn't really know how to go up against someone like Nelson College that have so many areas of the field covered. And maybe I'll hold that back until I can think of how I would do it. So I'll probably write something up. I don't know how good it's going to be because I'm not too sure even now, just kind of pinpointing what I'll do. But yeah, that's going to be a hard one. And then Southland Kings is another one. Southland Kings High School. Southland should win, but you know, Kings have a really strong young team. Kings actually next year I think are going to be a top 10 team. I kind of look at it that way with, you know, guys that they have, the guys that they have. But yeah, that's yeah. I think it's just one of those things. Maybe I'll wait for that one as well. Maybe I'll do a write up on that one, on their Southland one, because Southland has always got a lot of good players. You know, Thomas Jennings and them, they're like really sharp players. Thomas Spain, who I think is pretty underrated as a number 8, who's big number 8. Him and actually that matchup of Thomas Spain and Max Miller are probably going to be a pretty mean matchup, and because I think Max Miller's year 12, he would be another guy that I think next year can make a push for New Zealand number 8. And I know that we've got a lot of number 8s in the country and other blindsides, but him and Montel, Pernisi is probably at open side. Montel's another guy who's a young year 12, but he's just sharp. Him and Riley Boylan, those guys are just some real sharp players. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I'm gonna write something out for that. Anyways, that's a long podcast. But let's get to some of these finals week. Again, give everything that you have, because might be the last time you play this amount of rugby and this kind of rugby that really matters to you, and ones that would for your mates. Be safe. Leave everything on the field. Love you all. Later, ball.